The following program was produced by an independent community producer. The opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of the ECAT staff or board of directors.
There's a girl, she's a star, she's got style, Steffi Star, you see her face around the town, she's popular, Steffi Star.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Weinstein.
And I'm Meredith Keach.
And we have a huge real estate team.
And a very prestigious guest today.
Yes, we do.
We're a little starstruck.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, we're so excited. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing the one, the only, Darren Duarte!
You know, Meredith, I saw you do that on the podcast. I was saying, does she do that on everyone? You guys do that. I think that's pretty neat.
Right? We like it. We're so glad you watched, at least you watched one of our shows.
I also watched the author, too. I thought that was pretty neat.
Oh, yeah. We just
Jim
had
Katie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, I
So
thought it was
exciting.
good.
Yeah.
We
I thought it was
only
good.
have famous people on, Darren, and that's why you're on today.
Maybe once a long time ago. I think most people don't recognize me now.
Darren, can you pronounce your last name for me?
Sure, Darren
Yes.
Duarte.
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 So
I said
I have
Duarte.
a friend who it's the same spelling, but Duarte.
So there's a story behind that.
Please.
Sure. Okay. So it goes back a ways. So while I was living here, growing up here, it was Duarte. I went to college, and most people, especially back, I'm going to date myself, but you know, I went to college in the in the 80s. But I think even today, most people outside of New England, when they see that name, they don't pronounce it that way because it's a big Spanish name. And Duarte is how most people in the country and the world say it. But in the Portuguese and up here, where people are used to singing that name, they say Duarte. So I was down in D.C., and people would correct me. I mean, would not correct me, but I would correct them by saying, no, it's not Duarte, it's Duarte, it's Duarte. Finally, after a long time, I stopped correcting people. I started working for the CBS station in D.C., WDVM, WUSA TV, and I let them call me that. But the first time I went on the air, I said, Darren Duarte, Eyewitness News. And the boss calls me in, and he says, hey, Darren, yeah, that wasn't bad for your first time on the air, but what was that you were saying? I said, what are you talking about? I didn't know what he was talking about. I can't remember. Get the tape. So I bring the tape back. Matter of fact, Katie Couric helped me with that story, my first story, by the way. She was a local reporter for the NBC station in D.C. at the time. And I was at the CBS station, yeah. And her and I used to be friends, and this time passed, but she helped me with that. And I said, what is it? Oh, that's it right there, that. I said, oh, that's my name. I let you guys call me that. I get tired of correcting you guys all the time. He said, really? I said, yeah. You want to be in this business and on air, if I were you, I'd stick with Duarte. It sounds better and it flows better. And so ever since 1987, I've had that name on air. Now, I mean, I answer to both, but.
I like the Duarte.
Well,
better.
honestly, it's the same thing with Tony, right?
Right.
So one day he's Tony Soares. The next day he's Anthony Soares.
Yes.
And then if we're traveling, he's Suarez. And then if we meet someone Portuguese, he's like Swatch. I go, Anthony, you have got to pick a name.
So I imagine everyone in the podcast, the audience, knows Tony.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. They all know
Tony
him.
eats.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing with his name. So.
Yes, I was going to say that, but I'm glad you brought that up too, because
Yeah.
I know he sometimes, because other people will pronounce it differently too.
Right.
And
so,
also depending on where they're from or
Right.
where they live.
well, the thing is, he has two first names because he's either Tony or Anthony, and then he's either Soares or Suarez.
I thought he,
Tones.
Right. So
I thought he was coming by.
Well, he was, and then he
couldn't make it.
yeah, he got called into a meeting.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and we're like, we don't need you, Anthony. We've got Darren.
Yeah. Once I got the rundown, I was like, we don't need Tony.
Right. Tony gave us the rundown.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So will you give us the rundown?
Yeah.
What's the rundown? The rundown of
Who
You have an
is-
exciting career.
Right.
just
How
so
did it all start?
grew up in Brockton, Mass. Wanted to be a broadcast journalist.
Mm-hmm.
Went away to school and started working in Washington D.C.
Where'd you go to school?
I went to the University of Maryland and Howard University in D.C. And from there, started my career in Washington. I worked on Capitol Hill for a little while before that, but was a reporter at the station in D.C. and I went to other markets in Denver. I was in Hartford, New Haven, Jackson, Mississippi with NBC. I did a lot of work for CNN and a lot of work for way back in the 80s and 90s, late 80s, early 90s, mid 90s. And then I came back to Boston in the mid 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been back here ever since. In Boston, I was at, most of my career was in commercial television, ABC, NBC, CBS, that kind of thing. And when I got back here, I was on NECN for a while. And while I was doing that, WGBH came calling and said, hey, can you help and do some freelance stuff with us? And I said, sure. And then after a while, I started doing that. They said, we want to make you the full-time host. It was more money. It wasn't just, how regular news can be. It's fast, it's furious, it's not that much. You can only fit so much into a minute 15 or a minute 30. Here you had a chance to do documentaries, got to travel the world, won a lot of Emmys. So I said, yes, I'm in. And so the rest is history as far as that's concerned in my Boston career. And then after that, after Boston, that's when I went back to commercial news for a while in Connecticut. And then I left it in 2007. And now I do the media work for the Brockton Police. I'm their spokesperson.
So you're like the press secretary.
Yes.
Oh, wow. That's super cool.
Yeah, and it can get busy.
I bet.
But it's good. Yeah, it can get busy.
You're the mouthpiece for the entire organization.
Yes.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yes. So some days it's a lot, some days not so much. But one of the things the city thought when they brought me in was somebody who's from here, who knows the landscape, who knows the folks in Boston, who knows the folks here, and knows what it takes to put on a story, that's the kind of person that we want to try to help us. One of the things that I say, and I've said, being from here, and when I was in Boston, that Brockton was tough to get news out of because they didn't really like to talk to you.
Right.
If you were whether you were WBZ, whether you were CVB, it didn't matter. The Enterprise maybe had an in, but even with them, it wasn't. But a lot of that has changed now too, and I think also you get better coverage when you're able to communicate because it's part of the game. They are here, they're going to be here, so you have to deal with them.
So if there's a breaking story in Brockton, are you the one they call?
Yes. I mean, we just had, I don't know if you heard about that. We had a fatal accident yesterday morning, and I was dealing with that. It was, a lot of times you deal with sad stuff. I mean, that's what news is.
Right.
You deal with a lot of sad stuff. But there's a little funny thing. So my good friend was calling me yesterday morning early. He was at the accident. He was the first one to see the accident, and he called 911. But I did not know that. I'm dealing with the accident. He's saying, hey, are you busy? And I'm saying, yes, I'm busy. Is it about that accident? He didn't tell me he was at the accident. I said, yes. Did she make it? I said, no. Then about a couple hours later, he called to tell me, I was trying to tell you that I was the one that called 911 because I saw it happen. I said, well, you should have said that to me right away. But
when you say you're dealing with, what does that mean?
So yesterday, when the story happens, all the networks, the newspapers, the radio stations contact me. What information can you give me at this time? And as it changes, what information can you give me? What information can I give out? So that's what I mean. I'm dealing with that. I'm talking to the stations, talking to the police, trying to see what facts we're going to release.
How do you decide that?
Well, basically, you just think about the basic information, and as long as you make sure it won't damage the investigation, that's the test that you put. Because certain things you don't want out at this particular point in time, because A, you may not know the answer, or we may speculate that it was this and that, but until the investigation goes further, you don't know. So you never want to put out too much stuff that's not confirmed. Well, we never want to put out anything that's not confirmed. So if something is so new that it's hard to confirm, so I'll just stay general. It's just general. Hey, at this time, we got a call at this time. We responded here. This is what we found. More details later. That kind of thing.
Got it.
Yeah. So, and a city like Brockton, although when I was growing up here, it wasn't like this, but now, it's part of the Boston lexicon. I mean, it's in the news all the time, as you guys probably know.
So you get the inside scoop on everything.
Just about. Just about. Just
So
about.
great.
This is good to know, Darren.
Just about.
We might have questions later.
We had do you folks live in Easton?
Yes.
So, in fact, I was on, there was a story a little while back where we had a car chase in Brockton and ended up in Easton.
Oh.
And they got Easton and Brockton came together. They got everybody. There were guns involved. I don't know if you remember that.
I think I saw that.
Yeah. So
Read about it.
the surrounding towns also impact us because we help them, they help us with a lot of things too.
Does every police station have a person like you?
I don't know if every police station does. Some police departments have an officer or a sergeant or a lieutenant who does it. Others have a civilian that does it, in my case. So I'm a civilian who actually works with the police who does it. So it depends on their needs and, what they can, if they can get by without having an officer, say, on the street, if they can get by with having that officer just do this. A lot of smaller places can probably do that. But in a city like Brockton with over, 110,000 people, and, we're constantly dealing with hundreds of thousands of calls a year. So having an officer dedicated to just doing that and doing it the right way is not as easy as, say, Abington or something like that.
Right.
Did you have to go through any special training to learn how to make some of these decisions? Or was it just on the job?
Well, a lot of it's on the job, but being a journalist, I was a journalist for 25 years. So, and you dealt with people like you dealt with people like myself for many years. So just by doing that, and you get a sense. Like I know what a journalist wants, but I know what I can't give them, what I can give them, and they know that too. And so it's good to have someone who knows both of those. Like I might say sometimes to, let's say Meredith, you were working for a newspaper, the Globe or something, and you're asking me something, and I said, well, what's your wish list? In a perfect world, you'd like what? Well, I'd like to know A, B, C, D, E. Okay. I can give you A and D. That's it. Here it is.
Got it.
If I could do A through E and it doesn't hurt the investigation, sure. But most times you won't be able to do all that.
I could never do that.
What's
I
that?
would ruin the investigation. I would tell everybody everything.
You think?
Yeah.
I don't think you would.
I wouldn't.
You don't at work.
No.
I'd be like,
You're
don't
good
tell.
with negotiations.
That's true.
Yeah. In
That's
fact,
true.
we yell at other people. Alexa Katie is a perfect example. Day one of the job, exposing everything.
What's the key? Because you're both in real estate. Apparently, you're transparent with all the customers. Are there some things that you hold back, or no?
No. Disclose, disclose, disclose.
well, except when you're negotiating.
So, it depends on who we're working with. If we're working for the sellers, then, our fiduciary responsibility is to them. But if there's any defects with the home, that is something we have to disclose all the time.
That we know of, but
That
we
you
can't
know.
disclose things that we don't know. So
Right.
if a
Right.
seller isn't forthcoming,
And we try to go down our checklist. Have you ever had water in the house? Has anything ever happened to the roof? Have you ever had, any
Bugs,
electrical
rodents.
issue? Right. And so we hope that they're telling us the truth.
I always wanted to get into real estate.
Darren,
It's so
come
much fun.
join the team.
No, I had, because you two being in this business, when I was in college, I said this was going to be my dream. I thought I'd do television news for a while. One day when I get married, my wife, you'd get into real estate, and then eventually when I retire, I'll join you.
What a great vision.
So my wife, at some point, I got her, she took the test, and she went that route. I wasn't with her yet. I was still doing television. And she said, nah, it was too much. If you were with me, maybe yes, but so she stopped it.
I understand,
It didn't keep up her...
Well, it's not easy.
Right.
You know, everyone thinks it's such an easy job, and we talk about this all the time. You know, even when I got my license, I always say, I just thought I was going to show pretty houses. That is the opposite of what this job is. And in fact, I had a migraine this morning, had to give myself a shot because of something that happened 2 days ago in 2 of my deals. It's just...
They fell apart?
They didn't, thank God.
Okay.
It was right on this edge.
And it's been going on for months, and it was on the brink of everything blowing up. But somehow it stayed together. But I knew that I was going to wake up today with a migraine because it affects me a couple days after. But it is a really stressful job.
No, I'm sure.
And, you know, of course, everybody knows a real estate agent, right? So, you know, you have to constantly be out there and hope that people are going to call you because you do a great job. But, you know, it's a lot of competition.
And
but
people are making their biggest investment, too.
Yeah.
Right,
then-
and the emotions run high. And I think mostly, Steph is so good at this, is emotional intelligence. You have to be zeroed in on your clients and everybody, all the players, because your people hire you at the end of the day of everything that goes on is either A, they want you to get them a house or sell their house. And it's weeding through that. And sometimes you have to drag them to the table, right? Because there's so many emotions. A lot of times people are there because of death, divorce, hardship, right?
Right.
And so I learned early on, a relocation isn't happy for everybody. And you need to be aware of that, where sometimes we think, yay, you're selling, and they're not so happy about it. Maybe the kids aren't happy about it, or whatever the players, you know, are. And that's, I think, the part that people underestimate is dealing with those types of personalities. But we're not working in coal mines. I remind our team all the time, like, this is a pretty good gig. And we deal with people who have their act together. They're pre-approved. They have savings established and verified. They have jobs and have had working history for at least 2 years. And they're buying in one of the most expensive parts of the country. So they're go-getters.
Right.
And it's a lot of work in order to get there and get to the closing table and then move. And then afterwards, so they have to be tenacious. So that's a good population to work with.
And I imagine getting the recent issue you just had where you thought the deal might fall apart and it didn't. From all your experience now dealing with that, an issue like that for both of you, say your first year, your first few months in this business, how you approach that, would it have been totally different?
Well, I'll tell you, my first year in the business, my friends said, we're going to move. They were renting a house, and they said, we're going to move. You should call the owner of the house to see if you can get the listing. I said, oh, sure. So I call, and I give my spiel, and the woman goes, you know what? She goes, I don't even know you. She said, but you're a breath of fresh air, and I'm going to hire you. I said, what? So that was my first listing. So now my friends were moving into another house. Well, he came down with cancer. And he said, he's fine now. And he said, I'm not leaving the house. And I'm like, what? And I told the seller, I'm like, he's got cancer. She goes, I don't care. They've got to get out. The house is sold. They have to leave. So I couldn't handle it. I didn't know what to do. I was working for another brokerage at the time, and I literally just laid on the couch in my office. Every single day I had a stomach ache. I didn't know what to do. Eventually, they did have to move out of the house and spent Christmas in a motel.
Yeah. So it is, yes, it's different, but it's also not. You know, it's just like anything and how you handle things once you have years of experience there. And I think in Stephanie's situation in this particular deal, and I have one going on, it's no longer about oh my God, I'm going to lose that commission. I'm not going to get paid on it, because the sales cycle for real estate can be really long. It's more about your job. Your job was to sell their house and get a new one. And you're right there for accomplishing what the goal is that they hired you to do. And obviously, we take great pride in what we do.
Right.
And they're almost not going to get it. And I think that's where the angst comes from, because you want that success. You want that, oh my God, thank God we did this. And happy people at the end of the day.
And you, Meredith, with your public relations background,
Yep.
it must have really helped you in doing this job, right?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think,
Promoting the houses or promoting the people?
you know, honestly, I think a lot of that's innate. I really do.
Okay.
I think the keys to success in sales business you are born with and then fine tune. I mean, really, you're in sales too, right?
Yeah,
You've-
in a way.
Yeah, you've learned the art of communication, and I don't know. I see it in kids. I mean, certainly you can cultivate that, but there's going to be a comfort level with communicating with people, and that I think we're born with. And if certainly with schooling and work and training, we can fine tune it and become better at it. But to Stephanie's point originally, we have so many people that come into the business who thought it was something very different and thought you could be very methodical and this. And that's another part about our business. There are no 2 days that are the same, and that's challenging for a lot of folks too, because our schedules aren't our own.
And has it changed over the years from what it was and what it is now?
Because of technology, yes, but the people are still the same. And as much as there are all types of concepts to revolutionize this business, at the end of the day, it's a people business, and they're going through an incredibly stressful process, and whether they have chosen to embark on it or not. And you're always going to need a real estate agent, that person to guide you through the process.
What do you think it clicks in a person that makes a difference to say, you know something, Meredith? You know something, Stephanie? Yes, I'm going to let you do my listing. Yes. What is it?
I think it's about our listing presentation. Like, that is my favorite thing to do. I hate all the paperwork. I don't love picture day, but I love meeting with the sellers. I love when they give me a tour of their home and they tell me what they love about their home and how many great years that they've had in the home. And I just love giving my spiel, because I believe in myself, and I know I'm really good at this job. And so that's my favorite part of my job, is the listing presentation.
Right, it's trust. Right.
I can say, when I first moved back to Boston in the mid-'90s, I remember Channel 5 had, on Sundays, they would do this real estate. I think it was a third party that maybe rented time, but they would show houses and so forth.
I think that was Coldwell Banker. Well, we did advertise on TV at some point.
But eventually, where I'm going with it, the arc of where that has gone from, now networks doing that kind of stuff, $1 million real estate agents in LA and all this other stuff, from how, these local things were started many, many years ago. When I look at how that has changed,
Oh, yeah.
I
mean,
think it's
real
awesome.
estate, I didn't start. Meredith's been doing it a lot longer than I have. I've only been doing it for about 14 years. Meredith's 25 plus.
You're aging us here quickly.
But back when Meredith did it, did you have the big book?
Oh, God. It was right after the book.
There was a big book, so obviously there was no internet or anything. So I guess once a week, right, all the new listings would come out in a big real estate book, and they would drop the book off at a real estate office. And you would have to go through the pages, right, and look for a listing for, for your buyer. So it was, and then you had to. Everything was signed in person, right?
Yes.
So people were meeting each other in parking lots, and it was a 3-form. What is it when you filled out the form and it copied onto the one underneath it?
Yeah.
What was that? What was that film
Carbon
of
copy?
paper?
Oh.
Yeah, like
Carbon
a carbon
copy.
copy. I mean, we have come a long way, Darren. A long way. Now we can get forms signed from our bed, right on our cell phone.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yep, we get everything signed from there, and we started videos years ago, which obviously they never did, and it's real estate's come along. We have all new forms. That's always changing.
Yeah, the technology, certainly, like everything, has changed.
I started in newsrooms where, if you can believe it, the manual typewriter
Yeah.
I believe it.
And this is television now. The scripts are carbon copied. So you put the script in the manual typewriter, and it's all, every time you make it's making a copy because it's carbon. And you're doing this. Oh.
That's how Stephanie texts.
I do. That's how I text. And, anytime anyone says typewriter, all I think of is my mother, because she could type over 100 words a minute. So she was like, right? When you have to start.
Right.
Yep. She was so good.
And the manual one too?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Manual,
I was
yep,
never
and
that good
electric.
on that.
I cheated.
I loved the sound of a typewriter.
I know. We used to have them in our office. They
Did
finally
you
got rid of
guys
them.
know that there's actually a big thing right now where people are pushing back because everything you touch doesn't have a sound, and people like buttons.
Yeah.
They like sort of like
They like
that
to hear
typewriter.
it.
They like to hear it and push it.
Well, you can put the click sound on your phone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you can have a
Well,
click.
it's a big thing now, apparently. I've seen articles about it, how people are giving pushback because they're tired of everywhere they go. There's no button. It just is a sensor touch.
Interesting.
We're very tactile.
Interesting.
Darren, so tell me about what it was like living in D.C.
Oh, it was great. I basically grew up there. I spent from 18 years old to 25 there.
Wow.
So, and I lived in D.C., Northeast, Northwest, in Virginia, just on the outskirts, and also in suburban Maryland for those 6 years I was there. But it was a good time. I mean, it was busy too. Most of it was college, but there was 2 years without college that I spent there. The first year after college, I didn't get into broadcasting. I tried, and I was unsuccessful. So
Did you? So what did you have to go on? Interviews and try out?
Right, you go on interviews, you send stuff out. You send stuff out here and there, and
Hope someone.
you hope someone bites. But you have no experience,
Right.
And you look really
No,
green.
thank you.
You look really green on it. You don't think you do, but you're very inexperienced. So
Right.
you want to go to smaller places. And I landed a job. Business was my minor. And I landed a job in a group dental practice, doing accounting for all the dentists and optometrists.
What?
Yeah, for all the dentists, all the oral surgeons that were in the group
I
dental
never
practice.
expected to hear this from you, Darren.
I know, and so I got free, my wisdom teeth out free. That was good.
Perks of the job.
Perk, right?
Yeah. The one thing you guys will get a kick at. So I said to myself, why am I doing this? So at that time, so you can't really see now, but in television.
No, we can see you.
No, my point is, I used to have see right here? You can't see it now because there are crowns, but there's a gap there. And at the time, one of the dentists I worked for said, we can close that gap. Because I told her, when I make tapes for television, I don't like seeing that gap. Oh, we can close that with some just
bonding.
a veneer.
Yeah, whatever.
I said, yeah, and it's free. It would be a lot of money if you didn't have insurance, which I don't think I had back then. And just, cosmetic dentistry was a lot. So she scheduled it. I told her I had a date on this particular date. It was a Saturday. She said, oh, no, that's the only day I can do it. And it's just like a dummy. I brought the date to the dentist.
No way.
What a fabulous date.
So I said,
Cassandra, we're going to the dentist.
so I'm like, it's got to be, it was the first one. And I said, so we get in
We
there.
just have to swing in for me to get a dental procedure.
They're just filling my gap. It'll take 5 minutes.
So she comes out, I go out, and she's gone. I run outside.
She ditched you at the dentist?
Ditched me, and I went out and I grabbed.
Darren.
And I grabbed again. I'm like 22. I run, chase. Hey! And then I stopped her. You leaving? You brought me on a first date to the
To the dentist.
I said, well, it's only temporary. I was going to
Pardon
go
the
here.
pun.
I wanted to say, hey, I was able to get this free, which I didn't say,
Right.
but.
You were excited about it.
Well, I didn't. I didn't think we could have rescheduled it. She wouldn't. The dentist wouldn't. So I'm only 22. I work for these folks. I said, okay, whatever. I should have just canceled the date, but I didn't. But it was definitely a learning.
That, Darren,
lesson.
I'll never forget that story.
I'll never forget. I can't believe I did that.
That's
I
so
look back,
great.
I took a girl to a dentist.
So you
That's
started
awesome.
doing accounting and books for dentistry, oral surgeons, orthodontists, and then how did you launch from there?
How did you get your big break?
So eventually, have you guys ever heard of AFTRA?
No.
The American Federation of TV and Radio. You heard of SAG?
Yep.
Screen Actors
Yep.
Guild. So now they're combined now. Screen Actors Guild and AFTRA. They're both unions that handle actors and handle television folks. So certain markets, especially the big markets in news, the on-air people, just like some of the technical people, are union. They're different unions, but so AFTRA, called the American Federation of TV and Radio Artists, DC was under that union. Now, like Screen Actors Guild and AFTRA have merged. But anyway, they had this program at this station where, for people just starting out, it was called an AFTRA training program. And a couple hundred people would apply each year. And I applied that first year out of school, but I didn't get it. They only picked 2 a year.
Ooh.
So I applied because by being in that program, what it does is you write the news on a major station, you go out and do stories, like you write the news for the anchors. That's how I got to meet Katie Kirk. She worked for the local station across the street. Well, I say across the street, in the market. So when I'd go out and do stories, she's out there doing it for her station. Oh. So I didn't get it the first time. I applied the second time, and I got in the second time. And so that's how that happened.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
stiff competition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you think about it. I mean, there's only a couple people in each marketplace. I mean, that's tough competition.
Yeah.
Tough.
And being in that program, what it did was, it gave you, especially someone who's just starting out, it gives you access to the people who are already there. So you're meeting people, anchors, reporters, writers who have a lot of experience, photographers who can go out and help you make your tape, a professional tape, versus you just trying to do it yourself. Mm-hmm. So that was really instrumental, was getting the experienced people helping you with. Like I said, Katie Kirk helped me with my very first story.
What'd she do?
It just, we were out in the same story. It was a murder. It was a murder in D.C. And she just, guided me, because she knew I was in that training program and that this was my first time. Because what they did was, at the end, they let you go on the air.
Oh.
So she knew that. So she guided me and just, make sure you, hit all these things, make sure you answer all these questions and blah, blah, blah. And that's it.
That was nice of her.
Yeah.
I knew I always liked her.
Yeah, no, she was good people. I wish I kept in touch with her. But
Well, it's not too late, Darren.
no. But you know what I did? Here's the thing. You know how when you're older, the things that you do that now, when you were younger, so why didn't I do that then? So here's why I didn't reach out to her. So when she left the local station in Washington, she went to work for NBC National as like the Pentagon reporter, Pentagon correspondent. But anytime I would reach out to her, she would call me back. Maybe if not that day, within a day or two. Now, I don't want to say, we weren't like best friends or anything like that. We were just associates. I was young. She was trying to help me come along. She always returned my calls. When she got to the Today Show, and she was the host of the Today Show, I waited a while. I left a message. At that time, I was working for the CBS station in Denver. I had been in the business maybe 4 years now as a professional myself. But I left her a message. Day goes by, she doesn't call back. 2 days go by, she doesn't call back. That never happened with us before. So I just let it alone. And so I let it alone, and instead of just calling back and, again, leaving a message, I didn't do that. I was thinking, I'm going to bother her, she's big time now, let her do her thing. And there was an opportunity, and that's why I said this is must not be in the cards. Fast forward, 14, 15 years later, I'm working in Boston at WGBH, and her host, Brian Gumbel, is retiring. And we got to do a one-on-one with Brian Gumbel. And they were sending me up to New York to do it. Katie, so we sent producers up, and we got a freelance crew in New York. Don't tell her that's me coming, blah, blah, blah. So no one said, we wanted to surprise her when I got there, because she kept saying, who's going to interview Brian? Who's going to interview Brian Gumbel? For those in the audience, the younger folks, they may not know who Brian Gumbel is, but he was a longtime host of the Today Show with her and with some other folks beforehand. So the day I get there to do the interview with Gumbel, I walk into the green room, green room where they get made up and everything. And I look around, I see Brian Gumbel, Matt Lauer getting made up. Oh, Matt's filling in for her today.
Man.
This is her first day on maternity leave.
Oh, come on.
And so I said, it's not meant to be. And it didn't happen.
Oh.
But I thought, what a way to rekindle that.
Yeah.
Maybe she never got your call, Darren.
That's another thing. But again, that's what I'm saying. Being older, I would have done it again. You're young. I'm like, I'm not going to bother her.
I don't want to bother her.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that's what happened.
Well,
So from DC, how did you get your own TV show?
So from after I left DC, I did news for a while, news reporter, news anchors in different markets. Jackson, Mississippi, Denver.
So you moved to each one of these places
Yes.
for your job.
Yes.
And did that bring you up in the ranks, so to speak? Oh, okay.
So unlike today, I mean, usually you have to start in a smaller place. You want to get some experience, make your mistakes there. Mm. Not that you don't make mistakes in the bigger places, but hopefully you've made most of them already.
Yeah.
And so, so that the idea was that, at least for a lot of us in our time, you want to be in a top 10 market. The pay is best then. And back in those days, the pay was really good. Nowadays, not so much. I mean, the main anchors are definitely going to pull in the money, over $500,000, some $1 million, over $1 million, depending on where they are, what market it is. But so that's how that happened. So what I said that what happened when I was at NACN, that's when GBH called and asked me to do some freelance work.
Right. Okay.
And as I was doing that, that's when they said, "We'd like you to be the host, the face of the show." And like I said, it was more money, and I took it. So that's how that happened.
Got it. So I see the progression now. So you'd been in the industry for quite some time.
Right.
And then moving back to Boston.
Right.
I mean, your own show is pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, so
a legit show.
So people say it's my own show. I was the host of it. It was a long-time show that started in 1968.
Wow.
The show actually started in 1968. And, I took the reins in 1994. So, it had a good run. I think they're like revamping it now.
Are they?
Something, yeah. I think so. They're revamping it and coming up with something new again, I think this year.
Do you miss?
That's what I heard.
Do you miss television?
Some days.
Yeah.
Some days I don't. But some days I do. But when there are certain big stories that happen, I kind of miss it. But there are other times. Because think about it. One of the things, especially in local news, the news has to go on, and they have all these hours and the time to fill. So if you're out as a reporter, and they send you somewhere, they invested the time and the money, to send you out there. They want you to come back with something. If you're saying, that story really didn't pan out,
find something.
That story sucked.
In a way, some of us in the business used to say we have to make chicken salad out of chicken. So I don't miss doing that.
Right, you have to come up with something.
Yeah.
But you said something earlier, Meredith, that struck me, and I wanted to mention how when you said when you were talking about real estate, how yes, it's hard, but hey, we're not doing coal mining. Remember, one of the things that I learned after spending 10 years at PBS, which is totally different from the commercial side. The audience may not be as large, but I think they're more invested. They're not changing the channel,
right?
Flipping it.
Yeah.
If they're watching PBS, chances are they're watching the whole thing, or a good portion of it. Whereas if you're watching the Today Show or Good Morning America, you're flipping through.
Yeah.
Or you're getting dressed for work, that kind of thing. When I left PBS, and I said to myself, I'm going back to commercial again. I said, Darren, don't complain. It is what it is. The fact that you're doing it, just embrace it. And I had the best time in commercial towards the end than I did at the beginning. Because at the beginning, I used to, after a while, you get to, Black Friday, go live again at Black Friday at the mall in Boston or in, what? You get tired of those obligatory stories. But after I was away for a long time, and the fact that I went back to it, I said, it is what it is, so just embrace it. I had such a good time doing it. I sat on something I wouldn't have done when I was younger. I sat on Sandra's lap talking, blah, 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 doing all kind of stuff, which I never would have done as in the features.
Yep.
because you had people, and you'd always say, I don't want to do these stories. Some people would think, I'm too good for that. And I would say, no. So to bring this back up, I would have arguments with the folks I worked with who were tired of doing that stuff. And I would say, you know something, not every day is going to be an Emmy Award-winning story.
Right.
So true.
Yeah.
It's not going to be an Emmy Award-winning story every day. And there are kids getting blown up at this time because the Iraq War was going on. Kids getting blown up in Iraq who get paid a lot less than we do.
Yeah.
And you're really going to complain about eating homemade ice cream?
Right.
Right. Yeah.
So that made me
Right.
think of it when you mentioned the
Perspective.
coal mine.
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
perspective.
Yeah.
Perspective.
Right.
Right.
And I think having had the experience behind you and making decisions along the way and choosing to go back into the commercial, it's very sweet in a sense in that you made that choice. So when we look and say, well, I choose to be where I am, so enjoy the day-to-day activities, right?
Yeah.
And if you're not, then go do something different.
Right. Right.
I mean, even with our job, right? We're selling mobile homes,
Yeah.
for $150,000, and we are working our asses off, right? And then we have $8 million listings.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we embrace everything that we
yeah.
get.
Yeah. And the people that come, the challenges that come along the way, and the excitement, and it's people business, which yours is
Wait,
too.
so you said you had a story about Regis?
Oh, yeah. So when I was in Denver, so I lived in this building. You know the Embassy Suites Hotel?
Yes.
So there was a building at the time downtown, the Embassy Suites Hotel. From the lobby to the 18th floor was the hotel. 18 or 19 to 37, they were apartments.
Oh.
And so I lived in those apartments. And if you lived in those apartments, and if you were willing to pay some of the extra amenities, you could get the same kind of things that a hotel guest would get. You know, you had to pay for it. Maid service you could get, this, that, and the other. So you also had access to the hotel bar, the hotel restaurant, the hotel.
Sounds like my kind of place.
Yes.
No kidding. I'm like, wait, how do I get me one of
I'll
those?
pay for the extras.
You had to pay,
Right.
pay extra.
I want in.
So, and at the time, so this is in like 1990 to 94. I'm dating myself, but at that time, a lot of the acts that came into Denver, whether they were concerts, and they filmed a lot of shows out there too, like a lot of television. Father Dowling, I don't know, it was a series. Perry Mason, they filmed there. A lot of shows were being filmed there too. So people stayed in those apartments because they were long term. So Regis was happened to be a guest on the Perry Mason show, and the crew was living in the building. So we're all at the bar, and we're all having a good time. And Regis is, he laughed with everybody, he buying all the stuff for himself. And then when he leaves, the bartender and the waiters look at us and say, he did not leave us a dime.
Regis stiffed you.
Regis did not
Stiff
tip
them.
at all. He didn't tip them at all. And they were not, as you imagine, the people in that industry were. And I said, wow, it just goes to show you.
Yeah. Look at that.
I just said,
He's a cheapo.
I can't believe it.
yeah. And I said, wow.
Reg.
Yeah. Darren, your office, is it in the police station?
Yes. Yeah, so second floor. And we're getting ready to have a new building. They're building a new one now.
Oh, that'll be exciting.
So
Near the current one, or?
not too far. It's at the site of where Brockton High used to be, the old Brockton High School, which is in the corner of Warren Avenue and West Elm.
Oh, okay.
So that's and it's going to be the Brockton Police, Brockton Fire, Brockton Emergency Management Agency, and the city's IT department. That's going to be the headquarters for all of those.
Wow, sounds
organizations.
snazzy.
What about our tour?
We went to a fundraiser, and Meredith put in to win a tour of Brockton City Hall,
Okay.
and she won.
Yeah.
Hey.
But we haven't done it yet.
Right. We tried to do it a couple times, but the
weather
man
was
in
bad.
charge, because he
a
takes us outside.
Brockton historian, and he'll take us down deep into
Forget his name.
Bob is his first name.
Do you know Bob?
Well, there was a guy that was doing it named Bob Martin.
That's him.
Yeah, but he moved to Florida just
Oh,
the other day.
Bob. What?
The other day.
Now what are we going to do, Darren? Darren, we want our tour of Brockton City Hall.
Well, that's probably why, because he was like, you got to get your tour in, and I didn't really realize. I figured it was like expiring.
He
or
never told
something.
us he was moving.
I'll tell you what. I'll call him and ask him what should we do now. What
Yeah.
should you do now?
Yeah, who do we talk to?
Right.
Yeah,
Who
I'm
should
sure,
we call?
I'm sure he may know.
He was excited. He was going to buy us lunch. I said, "You don't have to buy us lunch. We just want to go
Bob
into the
was
basement."
very
We
good,
just
very
want a tour.
knowledgeable.
Yeah.
Oh, I hope they have someone new.
Damn it.
Yeah, I don't know, but they may, and he'll definitely know.
Yeah.
He'll definitely know.
That was
he was
him.
around. He was around a long time. He
Gone
was,
forever or just he's a snowboard?
no, forever.
Bob's out of here.
We're done.
Bob went to Boca.
I'm so bad on I bid
believe
on
that's exactly
silent
where it
auction.
went.
He went to Boca?
I believe so.
Bob went to Boca. Good move, Bob. Good move.
I wind
or
up
near
having
there.
gift cards and services that I get excited about in the moment at the events, and I win, and then I never do anything with it.
Actually, Boynton Beach, I think.
Oh, Boynton. That's where my parents are.
I think that's where he is.
We'll have to call him.
Hello, Bob.
Who do we have take us in the basement now?
Right.
And Bob's a good guy. You would have loved it. Did you meet him or just on the
No,
phone?
we never
talked
met,
to him a
talked-
few
yeah.
times. Yeah.
Who are some famous people from Brockton? We had the fighter,
2 fighters.
right?
Oh,
Rocky.
Marvin Hagler.
Yep.
Oh,
And,
Marvin was from Brockton?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Brockton boy. My dad
Okay.
loved him.
Rocky Marciano, sure.
Yeah.
Marvin ran
City
into
of
some
Champions.
problems at the later on though.
Who
didn't he?
did?
Marvin Hagler.
I don't remember.
When you say I mean, he had. I mean,
Who
there were
doesn't,
stories
Meredith?
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were, I was so during his reign, when I was real young, but when he really started getting national and international fame, I wasn't living here then. But I mean, I watched him from afar. I'll never forget. He fought Sugar Ray Leonard. Do you remember that? You guys, that was his last fight, last professional fight.
Yeah, I kind of do.
And I was in Washington at the time, and Leonard is from that area, from Maryland, and I was the only one pushing for Hagler.
Right. Come on, Matthew.
And I kept saying, oh no, Hagler's going to kill him. Hagler's going to kill him. And they were saying, no, 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 no. And then the day of the fight, it hit me. I said, you know something? If Hagler does not knock him out, he will lose. And sure enough, because I said to myself, even though Leonard was going for Hagler's title, in the old days, you would have to knock the champion out.
Oh.
To usually get the title, and that didn't happen in this fight. But Leonard was a bigger star worldwide than I think Hagler was, and so that's what made me think if he doesn't knock Leonard out, they're gonna probably give it to Leonard, and that's what they did.
Well, Hagler had there was some saying that he had sleeping in something to the effect of sleeping in silk sheets makes you weak or something. Like you basically want to make your life tough, or I don't remember what it was. Does that sound familiar? I'll have to look it
No.
up. Anyway.
But his first wife's sister though used to live above us.
Oh no way.
His
Yeah.
first one. Oh, okay.
His first wife's sister,
Yep.
not her, but
I wonder if people say that about me.
What do you mean?
right. First wife's sister.
Yeah. Like 17 times removed, but it's somehow connected back to Meredith Keach. I mean,
Well, wife's sister,
you
that's
become
one.
serious
Yeah.
fame when people are making that connection. It's pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
No, yeah.
So is it ever scary working in a police station?
Is it scary?
Yeah.
No.
No. Is it like intense?
I'm scared
Thankfully,
of
I
going to
haven't.
jail.
Same. I haven't spent much time in a police
Well,
station.
well,
I'm
thankfully.
petrified.
So when it comes to police work, when you think about it, people call the police for the most part when they're at some of their worst moments. And it's not, yes, it may be for a rescue. You have fire goes, police will go, but usually if something bad has happened or about to happen, whether it's domestic violence, whether it's, someone just robbed me, it's so I say that to say most of the things that happen are happening outside of this police station. Now, the police station is where we gather, they do the reports. I mean, they can do them from their cars and so forth, but things are happening out in the community. So, sure, sometimes you bring suspects in or witnesses in and out, but for the most part, they go into the detective bureau, and you don't really see you see them if you want to go back there, and even then, I mean, it's fine. Do you have any? Do you want to get a tour of that station, or at least a new one when the new one comes up?
Yes.
That would be good. especially when
Can we
the new one
call
comes up.
you?
Of course.
Yeah.
You can get a tour of this one now too, but I don't know if you it's very old.
Well, I think it's pretty cool. I mean, I have a great amount of respect for police officers. I really hold them in very high regard.
As we should.
Yeah, I honestly there are a lot of jobs I could never do, and that's one of them. I can't imagine what they see on a day-to-day basis, just every day in their job, every day.
And that's also one of the reasons why they have me, because they're to help them tell, not only to manage the crime stories, because the public, they often feel, and they do, get a bad rap a lot of times. And why that is, because something, like anything, there are bad realtors, there are bad cops. But unlike the bad realtors, when there's a bad cop issue or story somewhere in the United States, it gets put on social media, it gets put on Facebook, Instagram, all these different things, and people are seeing it over and over and over, and then people want to paint a broad brush to all police officers.
Right.
When in fact,
Right.
no, that just happened in Cleveland
Right.
with one officer.
Right.
Unlike with the bad realtor, it
Get squashed.
gets the public's not hearing about it, and if they
Don't
do,
care.
yeah, it's not that big.
Right.
It doesn't get multiplied.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So one of the things that I try to do, like we just had a Winter Wonderland event, and as part of the city's holiday parade, we had a lot of kids there. So we showed the officers with the kids. So we do different things to show that these folks are human. They do stuff in the community in addition to trying to help you out in your time of need. So.
Yeah.
How many police officers are there in the city of Brockton?
Right now, between maybe 180 something and 190 something, I think. We should be at over 200. The problem is recruiting has been hard.
Oh, interesting.
Back in the day, they would get so many people who want to be cops, and that doesn't happen like it used to. Because what happens is now you have so many people who will try out. But you may pass this test, you may not pass that test. You have to pass written test, you have to pass a physical exam, you have to pass a physical fitness test, you have to pass a background test.
Right.
And so you may get all those, and guess what? You don't pass the background. So all those folks may come in that you think you may have, then something. So when you had a lot of recruits, those that may fall off you still have more because you had so many. Now when you're not getting as many people who are coming to join the police, those numbers have dwindled. So therefore, you don't have as many police as you should. And that's just not here. That's nationwide.
It's a nationwide
interesting.
problem.
That's nationwide.
I mean, the cool thing is my friends who are all police officers are all retiring.
Right.
Or
And that's
already retired, which
And-
is great.
And you have to fill those slots, see?
Yeah.
And there are people in the city of
Yeah.
Brockton Police who are retiring. So you need to fill those.
Yeah.
So when you need more officers, but then you have people retiring, so now you're just sometimes feeding the ones you just missed. You still need more because
Right.
Right.
But that's a good career. I mean, that would be pretty cool. Have 20 years in and retire and then go figure something else out.
it's a great career.
It's a good career. I mean, if you can manage that type of stress and all that comes along with it, but then after 20 years, I like that. It's really
Right.
good.
Right. I know. So I knew all the Sharon cops because all my friends that became cops. So one day I was driving, and it was my nephew Spencer's bar mitzvah, and we
Okay.
were late. So I was zooming down Massapog.
Okay.
Ooh. I'm like, oh God, who's pulling me over? Sure enough, it's Paul Hertzberg, who I graduated high school with.
Okay.
I go, Paul, I don't have time for this. I am late for my nephew's bar mitzvah, and we have to go. He goes, sorry, Stephanie, you can go. I go, thank you, toodaloo. So it sometimes is nice to know your local police officers.
Yeah.
Yes. And also, no, I think you should be nice to police officers too.
Yeah.
Oh, please, I'm petrified of them.
No, but I mean, some people, they do have
Rude.
they do
Right.
have discretion, and if you're acting from the get-go, if you're already heightened, they're going to be
Right.
heightened.
Yeah.
Right, there's no need,
They're
people.
human beings.
Calm down.
Yeah, calm down.
I
Be
te-
nice to your police officer.
I tell this story. This happened in Denver. I was riding with a guy, a former Denver Nugget NBA player. He was retired. So I'm maybe 30. He's probably 47 at the time. And I was coming out of a parking lot, and this car whizzes by without, just whizzes by me. I almost hit him, and my immediate reaction was to slam the horn. It was a cop.
Oh.
Ruh-roh.
So he hears the horn,
Oh.
and he didn't have a siren on or anything. And he comes back, circles back. Now, the former NBA guy, he's all pissed, and he's saying all this stuff. Oh, it's his fault. What is he doing? I said, quiet. Shut up. Let me handle it. Let me handle it. Don't let me handle
Zip it.
Because one, I had a moving violation, like a speeding ticket. And I said I was going to go to court, and I didn't show up.
Oh, boy.
So then there's a warrant for you when you don't do that.
Oh, boy.
So I said, I had to tell him.
You're going to get me arrested.
Right. So shut up. I need to take care of this. I don't want him running me, running my information. So he comes and, what the hell is your problem? He says. I said, no problem, officer. I just, I was coming out of the parking lot, and out of the corner of my eye, I almost get in an accident. I see this car whizzing by me. I didn't realize it was a police officer until it was way too late. If I knew you were a cop at the beginning, I never would have done that, officer. Okay, fine. So we go.
Disarm the situation.
Right.
Disarm the situation.
Good
I
job.
go pay the fine, no warrant, and I don't go to jail. See?
Thank
If I had my man doing it,
The nugget.
both
Right.
of us would have ended up in jail.
Right.
Even though, the cop was wrong, but so what?
Yeah.
I mean, let's get out of this.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Be nice.
Right.
Be nice. And you probably don't beep at people anymore.
No.
Yeah.
Well, that's not true.
I have zero.
Living
Do
in
you have
Massachusetts, come on now. You
You have road rage, Darren?
I don't, but I might be
That's
the
a
whole
yes.
even then.
That's a yes.
Do you, Meredith?
No.
Neither
No,
do
no,
I.
because-
I have
it's too
zero road rage.
No, because it's too dangerous.
It is. I
Yeah,
don't
no.
care. If you need to pass me, I
don't
fine,
care
I
either.
don't care.
Yeah.
But sometimes you have to beep the horn because if you don't,
They don't
let's say
see it.
someone's coming, hey, get away from me.
Yeah. Or if they're sitting at the stoplight
Right.
texting.
Well, then,
Yeah.
right.
Or if
That's
they're,
awesome.
or if they,
Hey,
or if
move
they're-
along.
sometimes people are trying to cut you. They may not realize they're trying to cut you off.
Right.
Because I've done that before. Oh, excuse me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you got to beep the horn.
Yeah.
And beep the horn in those cases too, right?
My mother used to ride the breakdown lane. And everybody used to be like,
What?
beep, beep. Oh, she was gangster.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, she would speed, go fast.
She's like, I don't have time
In
for
the
this."
breakdown lane.
Yeah, speeding in the breakdown lane.
People pull out on her.
I will tell you, growing up in Massachusetts and living around the country, if you can learn to drive here, you can drive anywhere.
There you go.
Yeah. Very.
Driving in all
Drive
those
on the
places I've
offense.
lived in, yeah, they. Is that how you drive? I said, yeah, but it's fine.
I will tell you the worst drivers,
Yeah.
Cobb Corner.
Cobb.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Are they?
Oh, they're terrible.
Well, in the Shaw's parking lot for sure.
Terrible.
At Cobb Corner.
Yep.
It's, watch, keep your peripheral on. And one other thing, I know we got to go in a second, but across the street used to be a pharmacy, and my office was next door. Pharmacy folks, a lot of old people driving to go into to park and go in and get whatever they need. Those were the worst drivers in the entire planet. Now, I might get hate mail, but I am telling you, I witnessed so many drivers, old drivers, smash into cars
Oh, yeah.
and take out every one of the agents, me included, got our car backed into or smashed, and they would look back.
They're like,
and
oh,
go
well.
on.
And keep going.
They didn't have time, Meredith. They only had
I had to flag people down and say, I saw you. You just hit them.
wasn't me. Wasn't
Yeah,
me.
exactly. It wasn't me. I mean, those are the times before cameras. So what are you going to do?
Right.
Right? Now there's cameras everywhere. Yeah. Anyway,
Mm.
well, it's been a pleasure.
Oh, I had a great time with you guys.
Thank
I
you
can't
so
believe the
much.
hour's over.
Thanks for
I
having
know.
me.
What happened?
Really great.
We have more stories.
You have.
I have tons of stories. I'm sure you do too.
Will
but-
you come back?
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
this is a lot of
Darren.
fun.
I'd
And
love
we'll
to.
look forward to, when will the completion of the police station?
Sometime, it's slated for sometime next year, so we'll
Oh, good.
see.
Good.
Is there going to be a grand opening and
I'm
ribbon
sure.
cutting,
I'm sure.
parties?
Yeah.
I'm sure. And maybe we'll come on and talk about that.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah,
good.
that would be
one of the
awesome.
things that we can talk about.
So maybe,
Yeah.
Steph, let's schedule a time to go see the old station.
Yeah.
So then we can see the new station and see the difference.
Yeah.
I love
Pretty
it.
exciting. Yeah. Well, thanks.
You get a kick out. Okay.
Go ahead.
So sometimes we have guests in the police station, and I'm probably one of the older folks in the station.
Yeah.
And I remember in first grade getting a field trip to the Brockton Police Station in first grade.
Oh.
And the station was only 2 years old then, maybe. Wasn't 2 years old.
Oh, look at that.
So what I do, so I tell the kids, I say, I came here in first grade to see this place. And then the officers who were there, even the veterans, like, yeesh. I know.
You old, Darren.
Right.
And now you get to see the second edition.
Right.
I love it. All right. Well, we are out of time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Darren.
Thanks for joining us.
We'll see you soon.
Take
All
care.
right.
All
See
right.
ya.